The laws of physics are very fundamental. They govern everything. They're the rules that govern all action in space and in time. They're very independent. So far as we know, they can't be changed. They're immutable, yet everything else depends on them, right? You literally can't do anything, observe anything without complying or being confined in the laws of physics. And so that's the reason they're so deep and they're so true, right? There's truth both in their independence and truth in their immutability, I guess, right? That it's something fundamental that doesn't change, and it's on which all other change and variation is based, basically, so far as we know. Again, so what is this? It's like a cosmic protocol in a way, right? Like, this is the way things work. The speed of light is this. The terminal velocity on Earth is that. The Euler's number is this. There's like these sort of independent variables that are encoded into the structure of reality. And what's important about those is they're human out of the loop, right? I've run this thought experiment before. You could imagine that somehow there was a device. Say there's only one of these devices in the world that allows its user to manipulate the laws of physics, right? If you could somehow gain access to this device, it would let you, I don't know, turn gravity up or turn gravity down, or, change the speed of light or these other things. You could imagine how much political strife and warfare would be engaged in over that thing, because whoever got a hold of the thing would eventually run the universe, at least the human world. Well, probably beyond the human world. They would win forever. You could never beat them, right? If they can turn off gravity, or they can turn off your metabolism or whatever, then the game of existence would end, right? Because the rules again would have been corrupted. They would be changeable, and then the whole thing would come undone. So what's our aim as like humans, in that we're trying to play these games with one another in a way that's productive. But to do that, we need to try and emulate the incorruptible rules of the laws of physics, right? There's a reason the laws of physics work so well, because they're not changeable, because they're not manipulable. So what we need are similar rules in the socioeconomic domain, right? And we've tried to do this a lot of different ways. In the U.S. Constitution, which founded the United States as a constitutional republic, we have this list. It's called the Bill of Rights, right? These are the enumerated things that government can never do, no matter what, right? These are the God-given inalienable rights that no government can take away. It's not that we wrote them down and said, here's what the government gave you. We wrote them down and said, these exist. These precede, these are antecedent to all governments. Therefore, the institution of government cannot manipulate any of these things, right? The top of the list is the freedom of speech, then the right to bear arms, and so on. So that was an attempt to take human out of the loop on the rule set, right? We wanted these immutable rules. And again, this was like a derivative of the Magna Carta 500 years prior to the U.S. Constitution. The year 1215, King John signed the Magna Carta, life, liberty, inviolable property, right? So he's trying to, again, that was another attempt at creating this inviolable, incorruptible rule set that would maximize the productivity and flourishing of the society that adopted it. So we've had strides towards this, but unfortunately, writing these things down on a piece of paper just isn't enough. It isn't enough to get people to guarantee their commitment to it into the future by just putting scribbles on a piece of paper. So what do you need? You need something stronger. You need something that is incentive based, something that incentivizes people to comply with it. Which again, if we look at physics and evolution, like the failure of not complying is death.
Yes.
Right. And the end of your bloodline and like all these other really heavy consequences. Ideally, we would be able to import or piggyback on, again, Francis Bacon style, right? To use the laws of physics to our advantage, to command the laws of physics, quote unquote, we have to obey the laws of physics. So how do we command these rules in a socioeconomic way that give us incorruptible, immutable rules in, say, the social and economic spheres? Well, I think that was basically considered to be an impossible task prior to Bitcoin. It's like, how could you ever? This is one of the core differences too between natural sciences and social sciences. The reason you can build frameworks in natural sciences is because there are relations that are fixed and independent, right? So every time we take water to 0 degrees centigrade, it freezes. Mm-hmm. Every time we take it to 100 degrees centigrade, it boils. All right, those are fixed relations on which we can build natural sciences. There are no such fixed relations in the social domain, right? There's no word I can say to you that I will be certain you'll respond in a certain way, right? That it's all human interaction is inherently unknowable. And so therefore you have to have social sciences, which are a whole different animal. And so the ideal situation, because we have to play these games with one another, whatever they are, right? And you could be super general here. You could say, okay, all human action consists of an aim, right? You're in place A, you want to go to place B, right? So there's always an aim or an objective. And it's always confined by the laws of physics or the rules of physics. So that's a game, right? You've got an objective and you've got rules. So the question is, there's a lot of games we can play with each other. We can play cooperative games that increase wealth per capita. We could play competitive games, violent games. We can go to war with each other, right? We can lie to each other. We can tell the truth to each other. There's all these different things we can do. So the question becomes, how do we get the right rules for us that will bind all of us in a way that leads us to be more productive and to be able to persistently compete over time without ever degenerating the game into a political struggle or a violent struggle, which just, again, destroys the game. And so ideally what we would do is we would import the laws of physics, at least the integrity and the immutability of the laws of physics, into the socioeconomic domain. Okay, well, what is Bitcoin?
Yeah.
That's what Bitcoin is, right? Bitcoin uses energy expenditure via mining to guarantee. It's also using the self-interestedness of each individual actor. So there's a social component that is not, it's not as hard and fast of a guarantee as water freezes at 0 degrees centigrade, but it's a pretty damn good, it's the highest level of assurance you can get in the social domain that animals will act in their own individual self-interest, right? It's kind of like the law of Darwinian self-preservation.
I feel it's like another fractal of the same thing that we talked about before. Like they're all little consequences of each other, but they work in the same way. It's like the incentives are constantly further and further aligned and cemented, and therefore it's inviting to actually follow a set of decentralized rules. Like that's pretty new.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say? Right.
Yeah. I mean,
it's scary, maybe, like it's because it's so new.
Yeah, it's very new in its implementation, but I would say the principles, again, we've definitely been flirting with the principles for a longer period of time, right? Just the idea of private property, for instance, is, okay, everyone that does the work to produce the thing has the exclusive rights to enjoy the thing and the responsibility to take care of the thing. And those rights can be traded, right? Like we can trade with one another via contract.
Yeah.
And so basically the principle underneath private property is, if you earned it, you keep it. If you didn't earn it, you don't keep it, right? It's like the principle of justice encoded into this socioeconomic tool. Okay, great. That's what we want. But the problem is you just have to encourage people to pretend like that is true, because it's not actually true, right? If you make a sandwich, there's not some holy law that makes you have the exclusive rights to be able to digest that sandwich, right? If I come along and I take it and I eat it, well, then I just benefited from your work at your expense. So we needed to induce people to try and follow these rules with disincentives, basically. Like if you steal from someone, well, you're going to get, you're going to get in trouble, basically.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Bitcoin again sort of flips that, and it's like, no, we're going to actually incentivize you to be honest and to act in a way that is that affords mutual productivity. Again, it does this weird thing where by it's just an abstraction, it's just an idea, it's just language, information, digital protocol, whatever you want to call it. So it's just this abstraction basically, but it becomes reified and concretized by anchoring it to energy expenditure. All of a sudden, this idea of fixed supply money or inviolable private property, private property that's very hard to separate from its owner, that's just an idea that we were trying to get people to follow with the Constitution and rule of law and all these things. But now it's incentivized through the expenditure of energy. By expending real world energy to create Bitcoin, it anchors the abstract world into the physical world. And so we get this strange move where Satoshi imported the integrity and the immutability of the laws of physics into the socioeconomic domain through the advent of global digital non-state cash. And that's a mouthful, but it's like, holy shit, how profound is that? You literally just bridged the unbridgeable worlds. And you also blew Descartes apart, right? There is no, I think, therefore I am. There is no bright line between thinking subject and objective world. Right? Satoshi proved that basically, that you've anchored, money is such an interesting thing. It's subjectively chosen, right? Anyone can choose whatever their money is going to be. And then whatever that consensus point is, becomes money. But that doesn't mean we can just arbitrarily consent on anything as money. There are selection pressures. There are objective properties that make a certain asset better or worse at fulfilling the role of money. So Bitcoin kind of interestingly bridges this chasm between subject and object. And again, other things do this, right? We've talked about evolution a lot. Well, was evolution subjective or objective? Well, we mentioned the objectivity of selection pressures, right? If you're either going to get the food or you're not, if the leaves are too high on the tree, well, as a giraffe, your neck is either long enough or it's not to eat that. The longer neck giraffe is probably going to outcompete the shorter neck giraffe, right? Okay, so that's objective selection pressures. But what about mate selection? Right? Animals choose who to mate and reproduce with, so there's a subjective element. So what is it? Evolution is neither objective nor subjective, so what is it? It's this weird in between, and I think money and Bitcoin are similar.
Oh, so many things to pull on. I'm thinking about Knut Svanholm, who says, "You are the Bitcoin."
We are part of the network for sure. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, click here to find more just like it, and here to find our most recent episode. Also, make sure to like this video to help shine light on the corruption of money, and be sure to subscribe to this channel to stay connected.